Hello and welcome to Series 2 of the Madaxeman podcast. This is our first podcast in the new run of podcasts in the autumn of 2021. The usual gang are here. We do chat about painting. We do have a little chat about gaming. We have a World of Wor-Wor-WarSports where we make predictions for the upcoming Brixham ADLG competition. We have a chat about trade shows. That's almost something from a normal podcast. You can't believe it. And also, this podcast or myself will appear on someone else's podcast and we talk about that as well. So there's all sorts of stuff, and of course Andy's quiz and Andy's quiz music for those fans of French techno. Sit back and enjoy the podcast.
This means war. This means war.
We're back. Well, we're almost back. So far, I think we got 6 of the secret, not so secret 7, or the surreal 7. I think number 7 is going to be joining us any moment now, or possibly within the next sort of 15 to 20 minutes. But after a horrendous hiatus, or maybe a marvelous hiatus, if you found much better podcasts to listen to than this nonsense, we are back into what I think we might actually start calling Series 2, because I forgot to call the other ones Series 2 and 3 and 4. So they're all technically Series 1 of the Madaxeman podcast. So in fact, it looks like Dave Saunders has just left the room already. He just walked out on the screen. That's a ringing endorsement of how entertaining this will be. But without the rest of the crew here, that still should just about work for a while. So what we're going to try and do is ease our own selves gently back into this and rattle through some of our more regular features. And the main meat of the evening is probably prediction time. Our very, very scientific and intellectually rigorous predictions for the upcoming event to be held by the sea down in Pirate Central in Brixham in Devon. So we've got some World of Wor-Wor-WarSports for you on that one. But as is always traditional, and I'm trying to think back how long this might actually be. This is probably a good few months. To ask everybody, what on earth have you been painting, making, whatever in the meantime? So let's just start to my right. And Peter's iPad, as you are now known. And has your hair got more darker, whereas everybody else's gets grayer? Is there some? Have you been painting with Grecian 2000? Is that the way it is?
It rejuvenates me, so it goes darker. Other people go more blonde.
You've been painting your head. That's what you've been doing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what that Grecian 2000 brush has been getting into the roots. It's fabulous. It's a fabulous name.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
But what about the vortex thing for it?
What about the smaller scale stuff, Peter? Anything over the last few months has made its way onto the painting table?
Yeah. Funnily enough, I was doing some more nights, as you do, because why not?
You do shock me there. Yeah.
I also treated myself to a nice new hand drill thing, which I then broke. So,
wow! What, like actually broke the motor, or broke other bits of it? Or
both.
You actually broke
one of those really, really small ones. So I've had to go back to using the larger thing. So
like the one that you use in domestic purposes for putting up shelves and things.
No, I managed to brick that as well, but that's a different story.
Right.
So I'm doing well with Phil.
Okay.
Yeah, long story. But I was doing some nights. I also did some medium foot, because medium foot in version 4 is a bit decent. So doing a couple that would work for, say, Medieval and a couple of others, just to sort of round out some of the lists. So I've been basically going through a few lists and saying, that's an extra one. That's a little bit different, to sort of add to different things.
Okay, so it's been backfilling bits and bobs. Okay, well, and in between doing the marvelous main. So
and Naffertons. Had to get
Naffertons. You've done some Naffertons. Well, who did you get them from? Was it? Let me guess, Donington, or did you?
Yeah, Donington Naffertons. Yeah. It went with my Donington Knights.
Right. Okay. Proper.
So I got the Spanish Knights and that. So finished them off. And
okay.
The Naffertons, because they just look good.
Yeah, they got to be cool, even if we never use the list that they're going to be in. All right then. So, Mr. Dave, you've returned with a bottle of Hefeweizen, the traditional drink of the the Saunders bunker, which in our hiatus I discovered is next to the Stalingrad grain elevator in Harrow, which is marvelous. But what have you actually been painting over the last few months? Anything made it onto the Saunders paint table?
Yeah, I can see the grain elevator outside my window actually.
Right.
Not been doing a lot of painting. I'm going through, to use the words of the net, hiatus.
Yeah.
Another hiatus. Franks, still painting Franks.
Still painting Frank. So I think you're taking them down to, well, hopefully sunny Devon in a couple of weeks. That'll be bold.
Yeah, no, it's a bit of just something different, and been painting them for so long. It's time they got on the table. Yeah. But I've been painting some Reaper miniatures.
All right. What, single one-offs or just? Yeah.
I was just sort of like get myself back into painting again. I thought I'll get something a bit different. I've got some sort of like weird.
Did you get the plastic ones or the metal ones?
No, these are metal. I've got a Thoth, a Nephthottar cleric. Yeah, he's basically the god Thoth.
Thoth,
the god of medicine in Egypt.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
And so basically, I've got some sort of like they're supposed to be 25 or 54 millimeter because they're quite big. Egyptian sort of gods, so they can work with my Egyptian army as generals, I reckon.
Ah, okay. Is that the first time you've done kind of the bigger figures in an awful long time, I think?
Yeah, especially these sort of, I mean, these are sort of very nicely sculpted. In fact, let me pull one over. Hold on a minute.
He's gone. He's run away. He's escaped.
The Reaper ones are very nice. They're all very detailed.
So, talking of Napherton, I've got hang on, look at the camera.
Where has it gone?
I've got a mummy throwing
a mummy
jar.
Right. Okay. Yes.
In a sort of Napherton sort of way.
In a big mummy Napherton.
This one I've actually been working on today.
Yeah. Oh, it's waving in front of us.
Oh.
Yes, that's got
his
multiple axes.
Beak and all that.
Yeah.
And he's got his scrolls on his hip.
And
he's got two bloody great swords.
And are you finding you're painting them in a different style to the 15mm stuff? But if you want to use them with the 15s, do you have to kind of keep it a bit more consistent?
Well, I think they're a bit like your silly generals in 25mm. That's the idea, is to have
some, the gnomes.
Make the Egyptians look a little bit more interesting and funky.
Yeah.
I thought they'd be funky. I'm painting. I mean, what I'm trying to do is learn how to shade and do the sort of 3-color trick thing. So, Thoth here he's pretty muscly.
Right.
So okay. Like 3 shades of, hang on, where's he gone? There he is. He's got 3 shades of brown. And then Thoth has a green face, which you probably can't pick out there. So I've done sort of shading on that. So I'm just trying to sort of do a bit more shading, I suppose.
So did you just sort of, take off your sweatshirt and your t-shirt just to see how a proper, full-on six-pack looks with different shading and match it to that? No,
not exactly. No.
Or not a six-pack. It was a Watney's Red Barrel.
Basically, I'm just copying off their website.
Right. Okay. Intriguing.
This means war.
Well, look, in terms of super detailed stuff, that must bring us round to Tamsin. And I'm just wondering if we need a separate podcast to do what have you painted since the last one? Do like a 6-hour telethon special or something like that. Because last time you were making more trees than there were in Southeast Asia, I think. And looking at this, it looks like you may well now actually have more village than there is in Southeast Asia as well.
You could say that.
Yeah, that's excellent.
But I took the hint in your email, and I've restricted it to to lack of vegetation.
Right. Okay. Yes. There's no vegetation here how many months did you just carry on making trees after we stopped podcasting? They're like. Is it in real acres now?
Vegetation work, possibly about a month more.
So that's what, 200 trees a day, 62 days. That's
No. I can go, but I can take the screen share
Right.
That's the stars.
Did you get sponsored by like the COP26 summit for kind of reforestation or something like that? Was there's some sort of subsidy because you're regreening the planet?
Yeah. Well,
or did you just get sick of it?
BBC News went out a room for film
by
things,
some scurrilous types that was my motivation. But
that could have been it. Yeah. So did you get sick of it in the end of all those trees, or?
No.
Okay. Trees are lovely, aren't they?
Still got plenty of trees to work with.
Oh right. Oh, the tree project is not yet finished. That could be.
No, it's not yet finished.
So maybe we need to find a set of rules.
Taking a break until, because I decided.
When are you doing the non-fungal tree?
Brain work was a bit too much.
Okay.
Anyway,
so Tamsin, when are you going to do deciduous? And then you've got to have the fall colours as well.
Don't tempt her. Don't tempt her. We just want to stick with the jungle.
That will happen eventually.
This would be a good time. This would be a good time of year for doing the deciduous because you don't have to bother about all the leaves.
Yeah, not far off. Off. Okay. So these Sarissa Precision then? Or all these wooden buildings?
Mostly Sarissa. There's 2 war bases and Charlie Foxtrot.
Okay. And those. And the obvious question.
Just so people listening can understand. Currently on the screen is a picture of a load of buildings that I moved onto after stopping on vegetation for a while. Yeah.
So talk to me about the roofing material, because this is not the roofing material on my Sarissa Precision versions of these buildings.
No. Most of them, I did a thatching method which I'd seen other people using. They get strips of towel, bought a couple of cheap dark grey hand towels, cut them into strips and glued those onto the roofs. And
then how many layers of dry brushing did you do on top of that?
I think it was just 2 layers of dry brushing.
Just the 2, yeah, dry brush towels. Good. Okay. So, and did you trim the towels? Were they the right length to start with? Was there a?
I had to cut and trim them. It was cut and slightly longer than the length of the section of roof that they were going to go onto.
Okay. So
and there are others that I did with corrugated
iron. Is that a commercial product, or is that something?
No, that was corrugated card cut up into strips of about right size, approximate size of actual corrugated iron sheets,
and then painted to look exactly like really tiny corrugated iron.
Yeah.
And is there a foundry corrugated iron triad for that, or?
No, it's just a mix of. I'm trying to remember what colours I used on that. I think it was various rusty colours and a dry brush of gunmetal, I think.
Wow, that's
fantastic. I like the way it's sort of brown in the runnels and grey in the highlighted bits.
Yeah.
I really like the use of the word runnels, Andy. That's fantastic as well. I'm not entirely sure what it means, but it's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, and this one showing a store sheds, which I did with the tar strip.
Yeah.
Which was done using fine grit wet and dry sandpaper.
Oh, right. Okay. So none of these have actually got the roofs they came with then. They've all been magically.
They've all been covered.
Magically fixed. Okay. And is that an Australian geezer that you've got posed in there? So
David Bowie in Goodbye, Mr. Lawrence.
It could be. So you've now got Australians to add to your Japanese and your mysterious US paratroopers.
Well, I had the Australians for a long time.
Oh, right. Okay.
I think that was started with the Australians and.
So is that an actually scratch built?
No, that's a Charlie Foxtrot building that I've clad with corrugated.
You got cladding. This is like Grand Designs.
Yeah,
I like the Charlie Foxtrot's buildings. They always go together very well.
Oh yeah,
yeah, they're very nice.
Very nice. This is one of the war bases ones I've done.
Yeah, it's a proper building. Yeah, with the bits outside.
And this is the other war bases building.
So can you sort of stroke that roof? Is it still furry, or has the paint kind of set it so that you could?
It's hardened.
Oh, right, it has hardened.
Well, I've glued all the PVA after gluing the strips on. It was then sort of give them a liberal soak with diluted PVA to really set it all the way through. Then spray primed and then dry brushed.
But when you're going to start making the internal fixtures and fittings, the beds, chairs.
That may not be necessary. Wow.
Yeah.
Probably a bit unnecessary, but
it's a lot better use of stuff from Dunelm than my slightly cockeyed 6 mil.
The towels I bought were actually from Sam Pound, formerly Sam 99p.
Well, oh God, yeah, that's inflation for you, isn't it? Yeah. That's all gone wrong. Yep.
Yeah,
and then bridge over troubled waters.
I did a few log bridges in various lengths and styles.
Did you? Because we've done this trick before, haven't we? We've asked you, are those stones real stones? And I was about to ask you, are those logs real twigs? And you're going to tell me no. You've done something very, very complicated. They're real twigs. Oh, what a cop out! Oh no. I thought you were going to say they were like pipe cleaners that you've encased in concrete and then dry brush with 68 different colors so they look just like twigs.
Like they're real twigs. Those sort of trellis bits.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
That you can get from the garden centres and so on. It's from those.
Okay, because they're quite straight then, I guess. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice and straight. And you'll notice on these photos, sort of that lashed them using with linen thread, and it's proper lashings.
So this would actually work if I was a really, really tiny person. I could actually step onto these and away you go.
Yeah, and about a couple of weeks ago, started sort of decided I needed a break from doing terrain. Been doing it for 4 months, so I've started
only 4 months, figures. Okay. And are these 15s?
15s, some additions. Rounding out my Ming Chinese and Choson or Yi Korean.
Yeah.
So some Ming Levy, Korean light horse, which is actually because I never maxed them out on my fog army.
Okay.
I decided, why not?
Why not?
What I was ordering. So,
and who makes these? Who's are these from?
Those are the ones that are currently on the table because I haven't finished.
Okay.
Probably finished them tomorrow or Friday.
Which company are they from?
They're Old Glory 15s, which I got from
Tom. Right, yes, that's the bases. I recognise them now. Okay.
Yeah, and those ones which were painted last week. Some Korean levies, Korean infantry to do. Because with the update to V4 in ADLG, in V3, you could have mediocre pike. In V4, you can have you have mediocre pike or heavy spear.
Okay, so you bought the same figures twice.
Yeah, so it's still done as heavy spear.
Perfect.
And at the back, also got some armoured infantry.
I recognise those. They're the same ones I use for my Chinese army.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're grand, aren't they? They're lovely. That's something where those Old Glory figures really, really rock and stuff. Brilliant, fantastic stuff. Well, look, that's an awful lot of terrain, and you've graciously avoided talking too much about the ridiculous amounts of vegetation. Because I think we're now
showing it. I'm scrolling back, showing it to you now.
Yeah. No, I think that's a special YouTube video just of scrolling through vegetation with Tamsin, something like that. We'll just do a special YouTube about what
this means war.
That's obviously more impressive than anyone else, but someone's just mentioned they have done some Chinese stuff. So, Simon, what have you been up to?
I did not mention J. I did not mention the J word once.
No mention of jungle. No emotional jungle at all. Simon, talk us through what the last few months has covered your painting table with.
So I've been busy finishing a variety of different armies. So I've now finished the 7 Years' War Swedish army that I picked up from Clive. So that's for the King of the Battlefield rules that we play at the Central London Club. So I've now got the turnip, the parsnip, and the Swede brigades all lined up. You can do either lots of normal line infantry, first tier, the proper elites, the grenadiers, all those guys. It's all looking really good. I may have too much artillery, but as someone who likes to have lots of artillery, you can never have too many big guns. So they're looking really good.
And those were the two. No, not I say two dragons, but it's not. It's actually Dixon, wasn't it? Dixon 15.
Yeah, the Dixon ones. Yeah, it was a Dixon's. It was like a box set of Charles XII's Swedish army. So the slightly.
How big are the Dixon? Because are they big 15s, normal 15s? Because the two dragon stuff are sort of slightly small and chubby, but characterful.
These are, I would say, normal 15s. So they're not. Not as big and exaggerated as say Blue Moon, so they're nice proper 15s. And when you paint them en masse, and then you put things like an army painted dip onto them, they come out quite nice, and you can see some quite decent detail in the mitre hats and the muskets and all that. So they look really good, especially
it's a nice colour scheme as well for the Swedes. Blue and yellow always looks good together.
Yeah, so that comes up, and there may be some Swedish heavy metal banners for.
Of course,
just because you've got to have more of that.
You've got to do it.
So I've done those, and then I got bored and decided, for my 25mm Chinese army, it needed an ally. So there, all of a sudden, a classical Indian ally appeared. So I've got elephants and.
Whose elephant did you buy for 25mm Indians?
I bought, it was Caesar.
Caesar? Oh, sorry, yes, because yours are 20s, aren't they?
All mine are 20s,
yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So I managed to get like 2 elephants for £6. So it's like I'll have those.
Yeah, that works, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and then, being nice and light, there it's quite easy to carry on the shoe. But when you look at it, it's still a respectable elephant. It's not a piddly little 15mm. It's a proper elephant.
Proper thing.
And lots of the obligatory warband and bow figures. The classical Indians from. I can't remember the brand of it now.
Is it one of the plastic ones?
It was definitely one of the plastic ones.
Okay. Is it hats? Do they do Indians?
Hat, that's the one. Yeah. So they do a whole range of hat infantry for various armies. So you have to buy like a bit of bow and a bit of swordsman. That fleshes out the mixed sword, bow, and warrior units. So they come out quite nicely. And then what
about the obligatory 1 unit of crap cavalry that every Indian army and ally must contain?
I'm lucky enough. I've got enough some of that really cheap crap cavalry that I got with the Chinese.
That I read something,
which is I think it aspires to woeful. So it's pretty horrible.
So you can just paint it as whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. You can't tell.
Basically, yeah. You just look at it.
Not going to be on the battlefield for very long anyway.
No, those medium cavalry have come onto the table for 2 competitions. And one competition they did all right. The London GT, I think they proceeded to get themselves smacked 5 out of 5 games.
5 out of 5. Okay.
Yeah, so they walked off going, that hurt quite badly.
Right. Okay then.
I think they brought a banana to a gunfight.
Right. Okay.
And then just quickly, Dave was mentioning that he bought the Reaper models, Reaper miniatures for the New Kingdom Egyptians. So Museum Miniatures are mentioned because I'm a big fan of them. And they mentioned they were having a price hike because of all the various price hikes. So it would be rude not to get in early and save, because he said the price was going to go up 20%. So therefore I got a 20% discount. Yeah. So I now may own quite a lot more New Kingdom Egyptians to flesh out the army, so I can do all the Egyptian options.
Right.
So from all the different Indians as well. But what I did do, because you just need more models, and after we all like the 25mm large general for things, just to have a bit of fun. So I bought Anubis.
Oh wow, that's the real deal, isn't it? Yeah, Egyptian statue Anubis, Reaper Miniatures, Dark Heaven Legends.
Yep, carrying a skull.
Carrying a skull, of course it is.
So you've got to have one of those. So
wow.
He looks seriously nasty.
Yeah, so he's either going to be a baggage or a strategic strategist general or something along those lines, because it just looks well cool. And you've got to have one. So that was that. And then the last thing that I did is alternate armies, the 15mil.co.uk. They've got a range of, they do like 15mil sci-fi, fantasy and all that. They've got a range of historicals for one of their Renaissance game called Furioso. Yeah. So it's all Italian
Fancy
Wars.
Landsknechts and stuff, isn't it?
Fancy Landsknechts. So not that I needed any more Landsknechts, so I went and bought some Landsknechts.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's like, why not? Because they were there and they look pretty.
Yeah.
So what I bought is a couple of units of their mixed swordsmen, because they're all individual purchases.
Yeah.
So I thought after having a few games with Andy, having a heavy swordsman, two-handed chopper with Landsknecht hats and cod pieces running on the table just seemed appropriate. So they look well cool. So they've
really taken the ink and the whatever it's really well, haven't they? Those faces and beards. They're much more detailed than I looking at the figures online, they're much more detailed than I thought they were, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they when you first paint them up, they don't look as good, but when you add the army painted dip, they work quite nicely. So I think when you add them with a blue moon, guy with big sword looks well scary. Yeah. And if I can get the next one up, where is it?
Do they a different one? Do they scale with Blue Moon? Because Blue Moon are legendarily enormous in some of their ranges, aren't they?
Yeah, they're a little bit smaller and they're also a little bit fatter. So when you line the models up, they're a little bit anorexic, but they still look quite cool. And when you look at a big keel, it's going to be different to that. But while I was there, they had a few other random figures. So you've got to buy Machiavelli to lead your Florentine army, because why the heck not? And then if you'd go for Milan, you've got to have Leonardo da Vinci.
Right, with the scrolls and stuff like that.
So he'll be quite good. And then the other one who's just coming up is I've got Caesar Borgia for when I do the papal Italian wars.
Okay. All right. So you're just going like full Italian, mad, nasty people kind of thing.
Because the joys of like £1.50 for the general and all that. You can just go. It's not even. You can't even afford a coffee for that. So all of a sudden you can do 3 armies with cool generals. I'll have that.
Definitely. Perfect. Okay then. Well, look, let's keep going around. And looks like Adam has joined us, but whilst he's still, he looks like he's got a cat's arse in his face. So we'll go to Andy instead, I think. So Andy, what have you been up to in the last few months, painting wise?
Right, I'm currently painting some Renaissance
I hope that's
Ottomans.
a cat's arse. Otherwise, something very odd is on my screen. Right.
It's Adam.
No, Andy, going back to you. Sorry.
I'm currently painting up Ottomans, mainly Janissaries, to make up a Renaissance army to go with the medievals I've got for the Art de la Guerre Renaissance rules, which Simon's about to release on the unsuspecting public. We've done quite a bit of that, and as I say, the Italian war stuff is great fun. You get some lovely games, and they're very pretty looking games as well. But the other main thing I've been painting is 30, which is 5 units, I think, of 25mm medieval medium spearmen, feudals. The idea being these are going to be Welsh allies for my 25mm feudal English army, because I've got this theory that most feudal armies in Art de la Guerre don't have much of a medium foot contingent, apart from possibly Almogavars. So
is that sorry, just interrupting it. Is that Almogavar's kind of the best aggressive medium infantry in the game? So nobody's got that unless they've got like ones that are just going to beat anything you've got.
No, but if you actually look at the list, most feudal or medieval armies don't actually have much stuff don't have much medium foot anyway. So given that the Welsh have got, you can have a bunch of spearmen. I thought, well, have them. At least they can. Okay. They'll do okay in terrain, and they can sort of, cavalry might bounce off them, and obviously knights won't, but better to have them than not. And you can get a few longbows with them to make them a bit more dangerous.
No, fair shout, absolutely fair shout, definitely.
Well, that's the cunning plan, which will probably come to grief at warfare, but we'll see.
Okay, so that's covered off kind of your painting from the last while then, last few months. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
This means war.
So let's come to the man who hopefully has moved cat's ass out of the screen, the king of Sting this week, Mr. Adam, in your palatial pile. What's been going on? Has it just been ferrying children to cricket and no painting, or were you doing some Roman stuff? I can't remember.
I've done bugger all painting over the summer. It's far too busy. I've been doing other things, so
Wonderful.
Painting just hasn't been a thing that's happened for me this summer.
Excellent.
Which I'm okay with. I'm happy with.
Yeah.
As we come into autumn, other things.
Okay, that's good. Well, that gives me much more time to talk about all the stuff I've done. So I'm delighted by that. That's a top result from my perspective. So yeah, from my point of view, I've done some kind of really weird stuff. I've made an Airfix kit, which I've even gone straight for like quite a complicated one, which was the Airfix LVT with the Jeep in the back. That is kind of, it's a right bugger to actually do. Can I drop that thing onto screen?
Is that the Buffalo?
Yeah, the Buffalo LVT. So it's that thing that I've done, and I think I probably must have done this when I was like 12 or something, because everybody did, and it had a Jeep in it, and I think I'm better at making these kits than I was when I was 12, which is a reassuring thing. Although looking at this on the screen now, I can see that door's sort of collapsed a bit, and you can see the join lines there. But this is a very old,
battle damage. Don't worry about it.
It's a very old, difficult to make kit, I think, to start with.
The door's inside out.
Yeah, possibly minor detail, and I'm sure that's part of design. But and it needed a lot of filling as well, because it just didn't really fit together particularly properly. And I managed to put it on table in a game of Chain of Command against Jeff. And in its very first move, it came onto table. Jeff shot it. It suffered a morale result that was retreat like 12, 2d6. I think I rolled 12, and it retreated off table. And I was like, it had taken me bloody ages to make it, paint it, wait for a dry day to spray it, and ink it, and all the rest of it. And it just was like straight off table. But it's been kind of my dabbling with Chain of Command and trying to get my head around the complications
What's
of the
Chain
rules.
of Command like? Is it any good?
It is. I think a big problem is Jeff's good at this stuff. Hello, Jeff. I'm sure you're listening to this, but he's like really good at these things, and he works it out. He's played it before, and I haven't. So I think if you stumble into it, it's like a lot of rule sets. I always work on the assumption that it's sort of going to be historical, and you do sort of the right things, and that should work. And then you find that there's some game level mechanics and victory conditions that you do need to be aware of. Otherwise, it doesn't particularly work. So, or you get beaten by someone who knows what they are. About picking
the best way of learning a lot of rule systems is to play Jeff, because he'll teach you by thrashing you what it is you want to know.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I thought I was doing all right, and then I wasn't. And that seems to be the train of it. But yeah, there's some interesting stuff in it. And at SELWG recently, I did buy some cock dice. So which was must be another sign of commitment to it. So I painted up a few more things, and I painted up some more guys to expand my Americans for Chain of Command. Then I've also finished off a 15 mil Spanish army, which was mostly Corvus Belli. I had some a long time ago. Then I managed to get hold of another pack of metal ones to make it into a proper army, and I'm going to take that down to Devon in a couple of weeks' time to make them really lively and kind of colourful, but with a lot of reds and yellows, really, to make them sort of feel a bit more kind of
suggested Spanish flags, aren't they, really? The red and yellow.
Yeah, exactly. It just gives them that sort of vibe, and using a few figures that were ones from Clive's collection that I've just found as sort of odds and sods that I'm not sure they're all Spanish. I think some of them might be Etruscan, but I based them all up as Spanish anyway to do that, and they were quite fun. So I've done that. And then I've also finished finally, and I think I started this months ago, rebasing and reshielding and repainting all these Merlaton 15mm stuff, in which I've been printing shields and actually even making some shields, which are sort of slightly oversized, but with printed designs, which is obviously much better than anything I'd be capable of doing really myself. And they look really, really sharp, the ones that I've done properly. Some of them I've not done particularly well. They don't look quite as good, where the shields didn't quite fit, but from tabletop distances, they're all right. But and some Pavises
the shield's what you see, it's what jumps out at you.
Exactly. And some Pavises, which are actually prints of real Pavises that I found from reenactment sites and kind of shrunk down. So they're kind of slightly bonkers. But and I've realized I had far more of these figures than I thought. So I've got plenty of medieval spearmen for different types of things. And I've got enough now of these mixed sort of speary, sort of, whatever it's sort of speary crossbow guys, that I can do that really rubbish feudal or medieval Scandinavian army that just has loads of mixed swordsman crossbow guys with all sorts of different shields. So you'll be able to beat that quite comfortably on the table at some point. And then finally, I got rid of or finished some of the museum sale stuff that I must have bought before Christmas from earlier this year, of some of their camels to be baggage guards, which to go with the couple of sort of Essex ones that everybody's got that are a bit dull. So these ones are a lot more dynamic. The museum baggage guards with kind of loads of inking and bits and pieces. So I'll have to wheel out a Seleucid or a Palm Iron or something.
Sounds like you've made a real dent in the lead mountain, and you're going to have to reload it.
I think what I've been doing is sort of finishing off bits, and what it's been avoiding starting a major project, and I've got like about 3 or 4 different projects to do. And I think over the last few days I've been thinking I actually ought to paint the Black Seas starter set that I've got, and so that's probably my next sort of big project. But let's just think, moving on to the next big project, it's probably time for us to move on to the next section of the podcast. Welcome to this week's World of Wor-Wor-WarSports with special guest pundit Micah Richards. So then, welcome to World of Wor-Wor-WarSports, in which the Madaxeman podcast team talk vaguely intelligibly about something that we don't really understand. And this week, it's going to be us focusing on our predictions of what's going to happen in the upcoming Devonian Classic, to be held on the south coast of Devon in sunny Brixham, or probably wet, grey, and quite cold Brixham, but we'll all be ankle deep in fish and chips and dive bombed by seagulls. In which we've somehow accidentally managed to end up with 36 players across the 15 and 28 mil periods, and I think it's 12 and 24, with the 24 being the big scale for it, which is again just absolutely bonkers, far more than I was ever expecting, but that's great. So, and that's only about a week away, so we need to crack on and come up with some predictions. So in our traditional format, what we're looking at is to analyze which are going to be the winners, and as we've done before, we're completely ignoring the way that the tournament will actually work, and we're going for a sort of Euro 96 style set of 4 pools, and we're going to look for a winner out of all of the pools, and then we're going to play off semi-final and a final. So let's have a look at who we put into our first pool for the 25 mil. So in pool 1, group 1, drawn out of the pot by all our celebrities, Gary Lineker and Charlize Theron, have drawn out of the pot. First up, Mike Bennett with a Pyrrhic army. It's a big army, and a big army in 25 mil. Eddie Glue, Patrician Roman. Andy Unwin, the West Country Devil with Triumvirate Roman. We've got Richard Walker, classic from the Midlands, with SELWG. Simon Clark is coming down from the land of Beer Burton with Republican Roman. And always dodgy Dave Hanley, devious Dave Hanley from Warlords, who's using Kushan. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a couple of you and ask you to give me your analysis and say who's going to come out top in this one. So I'm going to start with the man with the hair, Mr. Peter. Tell us from the world of Peter's iPad, what do you think when you look at that list of players?
Oh, I like the Pyrrhic. I've used Pyrrhic a few times, and they're just so good, sticking all the pikes into everything. It's just whether the Romans, they've got enough to sort of like blunt it up if they're going. From when we saw at the GT, if it's full fat Romans with armor and support, they start blunting the spear, and then you can the pikes, and then you can get around them. So my bet is on the Pyrrhic, but it's going to be some very messy victories.
You've got sort of 3 successor armies, and you've got 3 Roman armies. So you saying the successors are going to come out on top in the big scrum?
Yeah. If they get the terrain, if the terrain messes up a bit, then they're a bit stuffed. But if you can get the Pyrrhic in and have the odd elephant coming in at the side, I think that's going to win it.
Don't forget they've got a strategist. They have to.
Okay, but that's the thing for the that's an argument for the Seleucids as well, and surely for the Kusanj if you want elephants.
I've just found the Pyrrhic's just been a nicer run when I've used them.
Okay.
I've had more luck with them. It's a real technical sort of like line
So
of
your
it.
theory is it's luckier then. Okay, let's bring in Micah Richards. Micah, what do you think of that analysis?
Look at the disgust in his face.
Well, look, let's go to someone who knows what they're talking about, and let's go to Saunders. What about you? In absence of anybody who does know what they're talking about. So,
Well, I think that the 25 mils is quite heavy foot based, which is interesting. It's moving away from what we've done before. I think in that first group, the Romans don't get rear support, which is interesting. Dave Hanley's got 8 cataphracts, I rather suspect, supported by the cavalry. I was in those lists there. I would probably go with one of the Roman armies because there's not a lot of. I don't think there's a lot of cavalry. I think some of the Romans do there. Some of the Romans have got some good medium foot in there somewhere.
are you saying it's going to be like fought in the centre of the park?
Get rear support. The patricians get rear support.
The patricians do. Triumvirate don't.
So you're going to say it's only going to be decided in the centre of the park then, Dave?
Yeah.
It's just going to be a head-to-head slog. This is World of Slog.
I think the medium infantry in the triumvirate Roman army might make the difference.
Right. Okay. So you're going. Are you going triumvirate Roman then? Is that what you're saying? To triumvirate sweeping around the flank with the mediums, overwhelming the undoubted numbers of Thracians in the other armies?
Yep.
That's going to be it. So we got a vote for triumvirate, a vote for Pyrrhic. So I think we're going to come in and ask for a tie break. We're going to look for Mr. Leroy Mayer. Who's going to go on the tie break for out of that one? Triumvirate against Pyrrhic.
Having been trampled by the Romans at the LGT, my money is on the Romans because they are terrifying. But Mike Bennett has a notorious habit
on this one
of being a jammy git. So both Adam and I were on the receiving end of some of these Romans at LGT, and we know how painful they were. But Dave Hanley is a very skilled player, so
but he's not in the final 2 though. That's
no,
the
it's
issue.
only Owen and Mike Bennett.
Right.
So then I will win on Mike Bennett.
I will go the Romans because Mike has left Central London, so he doesn't count anymore.
Fine, that's absolutely
Sorry,
perfect.
guys.
Yeah. Oh,
guys! I think the tie break was Simon was going to say Dave Hanley, and personally, I would say that in Group 1, everyone's going to be doing the Dave Hanley dance, and Cushions are going to take that group, I reckon.
Well, it's a late.
It's good army, he knows what he's doing.
It's a late interjection, but bizarrely, having not made the final 2, Dave Hanley wins with 2 votes. That's I think that fits with our general law of competence, really. Yeah, VAR has come in and saved him, which is all good. So we're saying the Kushans are going through on that one, all the way from the eastern mountains and the eastern steppes. So. Let's go to Group 2. Simon, you're ruled out of this one because you're in it. So we'll come to Tamsin and say, we've got all sorts of interesting stuff here. We've got the Central London warring states, as a metaphor about the council there. The Dorchester late Imperial Romans, the late Imperial Roman town of Dorchester. The Irish slave revolts. Not sure where that's going there. With Richard Ainsley, Colin Kavanagh with his Swiss triumvirate Roman. Oh, another list coming up with that. Mark Fry is coming down from Berkeley with the Middle Imperial Roman, straight down the middle with that one. And Mr. Mackey is coming up from Devoises with classical Indian, very, very classical. So Tamsin, you're looking at those. What's standing out? Where's the midfield power? Where's the pace down the flanks? Who you think is going to win this tactical battle?
I really don't know. This is going to be a tough one. I mean, you've got the Romans. Romans were always a safe bet for a win or a draw, but coming out flat, the outs, the wings, classical Indian, all that shooting could be. Could do it.
There's going to be a lot of the slaves. Going to be a lot of slaves there.
Slaves, they might have done something nasty in the background. You never know. They might have laced food with Romans' food with something. Who knows? I
think Richard Ainsley is a master of doing nasty things in the background. So,
yeah. And then you got the Warring States. Yes.
It's been a textbook army for
Chinese
success recently.
Massed armies. They've got potentially chariots, potentially
So really, then you've got Chinese.
Choppers,
maybe we need to look at this. If you can't decide, maybe we need to look at this a different way and say, look, there's Chinese, Indian, 3 proper Italians and 1 dodgy Italian. Out of that, what would you, if this was a takeaway menu, which one would you be picking?
It has to be a curry then.
I think it's got to be the Irish slaves, because it's just going to be too much fun seeing a whole lot of Levy and Petrolus going charging across the table at everybody.
There is that, yeah.
So you're saying out of this choice, Peter and Tamsin, are you thinking you'd pick a dodgy Italian if this was the Deliveroo menu and you're going proper solid Chinese, proper solid Indian?
Curries, I can cook for myself. I don't need to get them delivered in.
Okay,
Chinese,
all right.
I can cook for myself. Don't need to deliver in.
Dodgy Italian, Irish.
I would definitely say
I can cook, but why would I?
Yeah. So basically, you're going Deliveroo because you can't cook a bad Italian yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's a compelling reason. So, all right. So we've got the dodgy Italians, the Irish slave revolt, Mr. Ainsley going through from Group 2. Let's bring in Micah Richards. Micah, what do you think of that analysis?
Indeed. Right. This is a new day, mate. This is social media. This is what the people want to see.
So into Group 3, we've got 2 more Central Londoners in a classic head-to-head. I'm going to come to Mr. Finkel and Adam on this one. So we got Gordon with the Achaemenid Persian, which will be a vast army in 25 mil. We've got Dave Pike from Berkeley with Triumvirate Roman, desperately trying to avoid the Dad's army gags. That's quite hard to say. Mike Shepherd, he won't want for Assassinid Army. Dave Allen with Hittites is coming across the desert, and Mr. Warsdale. I didn't even read that. You're even in this one. Maybe I'll rule you out of an opinion on this one, and I'll come to Andy and Dave instead, and then Jason Scott with Etruscans. So we've got Persians, Italians, Shashajish, Hittites, Dathians, and Etruscans. So, Mr. Finkel, what are you thinking then? Now I've just ruled out.
Well, I was on the wrong end of a meeting by Gordon's Achaemenid Persians a few weeks ago, and they were a tricky bunch to beat, especially when they parked themselves in terrain and have their cavalry hiding behind it. I think in that group, there's only one lot with elephants, and they may not even have them. That's the Sassanids. So I actually think the Hittites would do quite well. And, for the other finalists, I'd say Gordon, because it's always amusing to watch Dave and Gordon have a spat. So that would be my
is lovely,
prediction.
but we are in this version, if you've not been listening for the previous 15 minutes, only picking one, Andy.
In that case, Dave Allen, Hittite.
Okay, all right, it's Hittites. Hittite, World of Wheels, World of Chariots. Let's bring in Micah Richards. Micah, what do you think of that analysis?
It's just brilliant.
Mr. Saunders, what dubious football metaphors can you come out with for all of of these ones, you've been watching Liverpool do very well over the last few weeks. Who's going to be the Mo Salah, and who's going to be the Manchester United defence?
Who's going to be flying down the wing?
Indeed.
Well, I'm afraid I might have to agree with Andy that a central Turkish racky. I think Dave Allen will be racking up the hits with his Hittite army.
Right. Well, he's going to be hitting with the Hittites.
So yeah, I think I'm afraid, Adam, your medium foot are going to get toasted by those heavy chariots.
Well, won't you have a bit of a problem with the Etruscans though? They're all like heavy spears.
Yes, that's true. That's true. They've got no rear support, so it's a bit of a 50-50. But he's also got he's got about 4 impetuous medium foot as well. And I think as your spearmen realise, they get toasted by the impetuous foot. So
this is basically paper, scissors, stone. But we're saying the boy Alan's got 2 choices.
Yeah, I think as long as he just takes a road and a gentle hill or something.
Right. Okay. So we've got the Hittites going through in this group then, and then. Well, Adam, I will ask you about this one because I'm pretty sure you're not in this one, having seen you in the one before. So we've got Paul Frith again, all the way up from Bournemouth with a heavyweight Palmyran army, some proper heavy metal there. We've got Mark Mannering, another possible opportunity for Dad's Army jokes with all the way from Cardiff with classical Greek. I need to actually fix the draw. So Pike plays Mannering, don't I, really, in round 1? Just so I'm thinking that now. Classical Greek, textbook, spears across the table. Steve Price, hotelier of choice to many of the competitors from the Berkeley and Brixton Massive with Middle Imperial Roman. Excellent. Mr. Whitby is bringing Warring States Chinese. Mark Clark is coming down from Birmingham with the Three Kingdoms Chinese. And there's another Warring States in this group, Chris Jackson from Cardiff with Warring States. So we've got 3 Chinese, 1 Italian, 1 Greek, and 1 sort of, it's all bloody Lebanese, isn't it? All that other food that's from that part of the world. So Adam, who's jumping out of that group for you?
Well, interesting, see if I can shove people off. But for this one, I think Palmyran is a very good tricky army. It's got all the tools that it needs. Paul's actually a very decent player, so as long as he's practiced with that army a bit, a good player with a very good army, I'm going to go, because I'm looking at the Chinese bandwagon jumper honours, so I'm going to vote for Paul on this one.
But before you commit to that, do remember I'm giving you a lift to this one, not Paul.
Yeah.
You're still committed. Okay.
That's
good.
But you've got no skin in Tim, you've got no skin in this game. You're in a different scale.
No, exactly. No, I'm just wondering if Adam's choice was down to his ability to actually get there.
Mate, you're just trying to put the kiss of death on him.
So Adam's avoiding the Brixton Brexit taxi phenomenon.
Yes, indeed. All right. And so you're saying Palmyran. So Peter, what about you? Looking at these ones, is there anybody who's going to go head to head, scrum down? Who's going to toss it in at the line out and come out on top on this one?
I think the Palmerans. I think they're actually going to go in and stomp quite nicely. Some of the others, I think they're just going to be a bit of a mixture, and they're going to, the Warring States are going to fight off against each other. I think the Palmerans will have it with a bit more flexibility.
I suppose if you're, one of the Middle Imperial Romans, classic Greeks, you've got the chance of 3 Chinese, but each time you've had one, you'll just think, oh, it's another one, really.
Another one with a load of chariots storming into Middle Imperial Romans, basically going, oh, Skittles,
indeed. Okay.
Yeah, but there's not that many chariots, are there? There are 3 or something.
I think the Palmyrans might falafel fail against and get themselves in a bit of a tagliatelle against the Middle Imperial Romans.
Well, I think the cataphracts will say otherwise with the Palmyrans.
They'll make noodles of them. So we got Palmyrans going through with 2 votes on that one then. So let's bring in Micah Richards. Micah, what do you think of that analysis?
Right. Predictions, right?
Andy, you've been the official scorekeeper. So we've got, if I remember correctly, for our first semi-final, we will have, is it the boy Hanley's Kushan?
Yeah.
All the way from India and Afghanistan.
Kushan's all the way from Derby or whatever. Yep, that's right.
Or wherever he's coming from, up north, Rugby World, and that's taking on the Slave Revolt.
The Irish Slave Revolt.
So we've got Kushan against the Slave Revolt. We've got the dodgy Italian against the rather dry and dusty Arabo Indian. So Adam, because again, this is another list that you're not in. I want to kind of get that out of the way quite quickly, just in case it happens by accident later. What are you saying against dodgy Dave Handley, against equally dodgy Richard Ainsley, the dubious Italian against the slightly dusty Indian?
I think Slave results against Kushan. I think Kushan will be able to screen enough off and then just give the rest a bit of a kicking. So I think Dave can be to do the business. So I am going to vote for Mr. Handel on that one as well.
Mr. Handy, go up on them. Peter, what about you? Are you thinking where are you
Yeah,
going?
no, it depends. If he gets lucky, the Irish slaves can just sort of overwhelm him with numbers. The thing with the Kushans, you want a bit of space and a bit of manoeuvrability for your shooty guys to have a bit of an effect. But if you can get in and get lucky on the first couple of rounds of shooting, you can sort of like pin them back and start to overwhelm them.
Yeah, one thing I think the Slave Revolt army has probably got a strategist in the form of Spartacus, which will give them a bit of an edge in the terrain.
All right, but Peter, but who are you going for? Which one were you going for, Peter? Let's
it's Irish slaves.
So there is a tiebreak then, and Andy's already chipped in, so we might as well ask him to be the tiebreaker. So Andy,
and I come from Ireland, so I've got to go for Richard Ainsley.
All right, so on the basis that you're sort of from Ireland, then okay.
I'm actually sort of. I am from Ireland.
Sort of. Oh, okay then. So we've got the Slave Revolts going through to the final. We've got the dodgy Italian in the final.
You'll never beat the Irish.
Yes, indeed. So for our next semi-final, we've got Dave Allen with the hard-hitting Hittites against Paul Frith with the Palmyrans. So we'll start with Mr. Lee Ray Mayer up in the top corner. So Hittites from before biblical times to Palmyrans from the middle of the biblical desert, I guess, something like that. Which one's these? You got wheels, you got 4 horses, you got horses in armor. What's going on there then? Well, how are you seeing that one playing out?
I'm going with chariots. I've got a feeling Mr. Allen will bring a metric shed load of chariots, probably from one of his random his plastic armies. I think it would just be an absolute swarm of chariots running around the table. So it'll be an interesting combination of chariots on cataphracts. But I'm going with the chariots because I think chariots are cool.
I was full of it. So Tamsin, what do you think on this one? Is it the boy Allen with a world of Hittites, or is it Mr. Frith with proper heavy metal Palmyrans?
Chats versus cats. Yeah.
Chaps and cats. Yeah.
I think the chats. I French felines probably going to win.
Yeah. So Allen's in the final against Ainsley. It's the Slave Revolt against Palmyra, which is, that's vaguely historical, isn't it? There's only a few hundred years and the Palmyrans are almost Romans or something like that. Maybe they can arrange to play on a neutral ground in Syria or something, possibly. That could be mid-table. So quickly going around, how is that game going to play? There's the horde of slaves against the horde of hordes and wheels. So let's just run down and work it. So Adam, starting with you, who's winning against the horde of wheels and the horde of slaves?
Looking at the final for this one, my vote's definitely going with the Dacians.
Okay, that's a very, very solid choice. Peter, what about you?
It's going to be the Irish slaves. I think the Palmyrans are going to be a bit too short on numbers.
Well, the Palmyrans have already lost in the semi-final, haven't they, to the Hittites? Didn't we say?
No.
Did we see a Hittite?
Yeah.
No.
It's 2 chariots beating cats.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
But we've done the VAR joke once already.
Palmyrans all the way. Cataphract is going to mow down the medium foot.
Are we going back to the set? Are we replaying the semi-final? Was there? Does VAR allow the whole game to be replayed? I thought we'd voted 2-2.
No, we've kicked off. You can't go back once it kicked off.
We can't go to. I thought we'd voted for the Hittites to win, haven't we?
Yeah, that's what we did. Yeah,
Tim, we did vote for the Hittites to win, but you said the Palmyrans, which is where.
Oh, okay. So it's actually my fault. That's good. Well, look, I'll edit that bit out. And then we'll pretend the Hittites won.
Yeah, make it sound like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's all good. So other than that, Peter, so imagine I've actually not led you down the garden path, so to speak, and you have got the Hittites against the slave revolt. Who are you thinking is winning that one?
I'd like to have the Irish slaves go through and do it again. I know it's going to be a whole overwhelming numbers of wheels and slaughter and everything else. I just think they're just going to overwhelm them with numbers. I just want to have them just swamped.
So who's going to overwhelm who with numbers, though?
The Irish.
The Irish
slaves. Irish slaves going in, swamping the Hittites. The Hittites will actually have quite a small force, because if you've got heavy chariots with impact and all the sods and mods, you end up probably about 20, 21 units. Okay. The Irish slaves, if you take all the levy impetuous, you've got 24 of those anyway. You're not even up to half points.
Okay. All right, Saunders, what about you then? Where are you going on this one?
Palmyrans.
So we got 1 vote for Dacians, 1 vote for Palmyrans. Is it 2 votes so far for the Irish? This is working brilliantly. I think this might be our best one so far. And then Simon, what about you? Out of the 2 people who are actually in the final,
I'm going for the drunken Irish. I just think that many guys running around with especially by a game 5 over a weekend. There's going to be a few pints under their belt, probably a bottle of whiskey. It's on for them, so they'll win it.
Okay, and then let's bring in Micah Richards. Micah, what do you think of that analysis?
What a guy to work with you are, honestly.
Tamsin, I think I haven't come to you on this one already, but I know. Okay, so we're 3-3. We're 3-1-1, and there's only 1 vote more left to go. And
proletarian uprising is going to be very strong on the left wing, right wing, in the centre. They're just going to swamp the Hittites.
It's a proletariat swamping of the Hittites and driving the Hittites back into the sea. Fantastic.
So it's going to be Oim Spartacus.
Oim Spartacus. Oim Spartacus.
They're just going to scrum them over the line.
Oim Spartacus.
Oim Spartacus. Right. So it's the Irish Spartacusians, we think, are going to be winning this one. So fantastic. Well, look, thank you for enduring an episode of World of Wor-Wor-WarSports, and we will try and resurrect this after possibly we all go away and do some preparation next time.
And remember, you heard it here first.
Yes, indeed, and possibly for the last time. Thank you. That's World of Wor-Wor-WarSports.
Compliments to the script writers.
Yes, indeed. Yes, that was for those of you who have wondered if we are scripted. I think that was probably the proof that you were looking for. So as we move on, lurch on towards the latter end of this podcast, we've got another regular feature that we've resurrected from before time forgot, and I think this is also a piratey Brixton theme as we move into Andy's quiz. Well, those are the questions, and Andy, I think this time we don't have last time's questions because we gave the answers.
No, we gave the answers, yes.
So this is going to be mercifully short. So hit us with whatever your questions are this time for Andy's quiz.
Well, given that Brixham was reputedly a pirate haven at some time in the past,
I think it might still
be on it. Pardon?
I think it might still be one, actually.
Oh, we'll find out.
Some of the pubs,
interesting. Right, okay. Well, this is all about pirate themed. So question 1. Which of the Roman First Triumvirate cleared the Eastern Mediterranean of pirates after being empowered to do so by a special law passed by the Senate? A. Julius Caesar, B. Pompey, or C. Crassus?
Pompeii.
That one.
Is that a pretentious way of saying Pompey?
Could be.
Could be. Excellent. Good.
Right.
West
okay.
London massive. We're all on. That's excellent.
Right.
Question number two.
In the year 1696, Henry Every of Newton Ferrers, Devon, local link there, captured the wealthiest prize ever taken by a pirate ship during the golden age of piracy, a Mughal ship carrying gold and jewels worth £600,000. That's £91 million in current value. Every was never captured and his treasure was never recovered. What was his profession before he turned to piracy? A, Royal Navy officer, B, bishop, or C, slave ship owner?
Okay. Right. Choice of three. That's good.
Yeah.
If you Google Newton Ferrers now, Google Maps says that there's a co-op there. So possibly it's moved on a little. Maybe it's a little bit more egalitarian than when the world.
Maybe he lost his treasure and he's working as a shelf stacker. Who knows? Right. Question 3. Fictional pirate Captain Pugwash made his debut in the Eagle comic before being made famous by a BBC TV cartoon series. Which of the following was not one of Captain Pugwash's sayings? A, dithering dogfish, B, blistering barnacles, or C, scupper me skull and crossbones?
Okay, I might just save those and edit them in over some of your other utterances in future episodes forever. But so that's going to be grand. But so that's all three questions, and sadly, people will have to wait. I was going to say till next week, but probably until next time that we do this for those answers. But look, that does mean it is time yet again for Andy's quiz music. Yeah, with no answers this week, it does mean that you we only get 2 episodes of Andy's quiz music. Maybe we'll just have to patch that in towards the end. So we're into the final stretch now. So another kind of quick round the houses of what's coming up and possibly even what shows have you been to as well. How have you managed to get out and do some face-to-face gaming over the last few months? And a quick round the robin. Simon, what have you got coming up in the plan? And are there any face-to-face events that you've done recently that you can share?
So went to the London GT and the Bournemouth competition, which were fantastic. It's great to get another lockdown army on the table, which is all good fun. Looking forward to the Devonian competition, which will be interesting. Never been down that way before. And then I'm looking at the big shopping competition I'm looking forward to is Warfare, just due to various other life plans and all that. I can't get to Salute, which is a real shame. So I'm looking forward to Warfare, where I think my credit card might get spanked.
Might get some battery, mustn't it? Okay.
Yeah, because it hasn't done much for a while. So it's just sort of sitting there going, there's a trade show full of eager traders saying, "Here's some shiny things. Look at come and buy me." Yeah.
And Dave, I think we did both go up to SELWG, didn't we, recently? Although it was sort of tail end of the day. I think Tamsin, you did as well, I think. Yeah, but I think you were there kind of earlier. We were there when it was sort of starting to quieten down in the afternoon. But Dave, what was your kind of views on being back at a show?
Well, SELWG was in the same place as the GT, so it's a bit of deja vu with being in the same running track nonsense as we've been to the GT. I thought SELWG was really good. Good show. I spent a bit of money. I spent 30 or 40 quid, which I didn't expect to. Picked up some 2-dragon samurai off was it Bill's thing?
Colonel Bill?
Colonel Bill. They're second hand and old figures, but it's always worth fiddling through and seeing what's in there. Got some nice 2-dragon samurai generals. What else did I buy? That was about it, really. Yeah. No, I thought it was good. Oh, and I found my glue. I found 4-ground glue, which I've been looking for so long.
Right. Okay. Now, how did you feel actually being, because that London GT venue or the SELWG venue now is so vast. To me, it didn't feel like you were inside in a way, or from a mask and confidence point of view, you're like, this is a vast open space with a really high ceiling and all the rest of it. So it didn't feel like being crammed in a smaller sort of trade show space.
No, it was quite good that week because you had the mass of Games Workshop players and a lot of the other games in the center.
The GT, yeah.
The GT, yeah, you had a master there in the center of the hall, in the middle of the racetrack. You had quite a big walking space around it, which was quite handy. So you could go walk to the beer and bring it back to the table, which is always good.
Yep.
And then you had all us historicals up on the upper levels, and we were all quite spread out. I mean, I think it was one of the first competitions that I've gone to for many a year, where you could actually turn around, walk away from your table without having to do the Tetris duck and the Tetris dodge, weave, and evade all the people sitting behind you. So it's a good venue. And also they had a lot of portaloos outside, so the wargaming stench stayed a long way away.
Stayed a long way away. Okay. Tamsin, because you I think you went to SELWG earlier in the day, and did you go up to the one in Newark as well? Or
no, I didn't go up to Partisan, no.
Yeah, because Partisan looked really busy in the morning, didn't it, from the photos I'd seen?
SELWG was quite busy in the morning as well.
Yeah.
And what you're saying about the space, it was deceptive because I thought that there were less games and traders than previous SELWGs. There were actually more of both.
Wow, okay.
I think it's 3 more traders and 6 more games than the 2019 one. So.
I must admit, I thought the way the demo games were all laid out in the middle, if I'd known it was laid out like that, I think I would have made more of an effort to spend more time there, because I almost don't remember demo games from SELWG before. I just remember it as sort of a shopping show that smelled vaguely of chlorine. But now it's
SELWG always had some good demo games to put on that you could try it on. I remember trying a good few things because I used to take my boys along. Because they always had some inventive ones, from chariot racing to climbing a mountain. You know, all a bit different.
Maybe by the time I'd fought my way to Crystal Palace before, I was just like, look, I want to get in and get out because I've got to drive home. But this was much easier to get to.
Yeah, in terms of the games, there were some quite interesting ones there.
Any that you saw in particular, or?
There's one set in there was a 1930s Thai rebellion.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was quite interesting. That looked quite an interesting game. Can't remember who put that on. There was also one set in the French Indochina War.
Okay, so some nice setups then.
Quite interesting. And another.
Is that because you wanted to use your jungle town?
Was Beersheba, the charge of the Australian Light Horse.
Okay, so 3 rather niche things then. That's good. All with their own demo game. Okay, and what did you feel about being in that sort of trade show type space?
The fact that it was so open. Yeah, I got in there, and because I hadn't been there before, I didn't know how spacious it was, and I got in there. I was wearing masks when I went in, but saying, this is so damn open.
Yeah,
mask came off.
Yeah, it doesn't feel no good. Okay, all right then. Well,
this means war.
Adam, what about you? Other than, is there just like stories of ferrying cricket around? Obviously, I think you were at GT as well, weren't you? And obviously Bournemouth.
It was good to get to GT, good to play Talk Soldiers, good to meet everyone. That was really really pleasurable. I would say for SELWG that going from a swimming pool, a step up, because it always smelt funny, but now it's a far better space for it. So that's good. Going from South London to North London, definite step up.
Yeah.
So that's good to see.
Yeah.
But haven't really done anything other than that. Just really looking forward to Brixham, to be honest.
Fantastic. Yeah, Mr. Finkel, what about you? Your experience of stuff, what you've done over the last few months, face-to-face wise?
I did the same competitions as Simon. Bournemouth, London GT. I did the one day at the club, and we got Brixham and Warfare to look forward to, and I haven't been to any shows in terms of buying stuff or anything like that. Couldn't make it to SELWG, been playing a lot of stuff down the club, generally down there one night a week, and keeping up my games with Dave Ray in America most weeks. So a lot of face-to-face stuff, mainly ADLG. Simon and I have had a few practices at the Renaissance rules, and I think they're almost ready to be let loose on people once Simon's checked out the army list. But yeah, so looking forward to Brixham, and
I think Reading will be
try and win more than one game this weekend. That weekend,
yeah. Reading, I think, will be a huge one though by the time that comes around with a proper big trade show, because I think it's been a long time. Even though I guess Salute is in fact, is anybody going to Salute?
Yeah,
I was thinking I might do. I haven't yet decided yet.
Yeah, I'm going to Salute. It's just down the road,
It's on your
and
doorstep.
I didn't manage to do SELWG. Salute I always find quite interesting. It's just depends whether it's just going to be flooded with people, which is a bit much, but there's lots of height space and everything else.
Yeah.
But
I've always found the secret is to kind of go after about 12 because everybody queues to get in at 10. And then by about 1 o'clock, it's starting to thin out quite a lot. Wargames have got no strategy.
Quite strange. It suddenly changes, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Okay. And
that's true of a lot. That's true of a lot of shows, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I was chatting to some of the guys on the Two Fat Lardies stand at in fact, Don Avis up at SELWG. I think he said at the show at Partisan, they did something like 95% of their business in the first hour and a half. And then out of a whole day show, it was just kind of crazy. Everybody just rushes in and buys stuff, and then it just really, really slows down. So, but everybody's still there. If you go at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it's much, much better. Okay. And then I think who've I not come to so far? We talked. In fact, is that the full set? We've all done. Just trying to think what else is.
The one thing I'm looking for. I mean, the London GT was good fun getting back because that was the first time we really saw people coming across from like Spain and Italy and other places. So that was really good. The Warfare is going to be fantastic for the number of people coming across. That's going to be a great one. Is it 46? Just 50 mil ADLG?
Yeah, I think there's 46 of that and 20 or 42, maybe 42 and 24, possibly. I think, just on like 68 or 66 players in total, which is insane. That's
going to be crazy.
Absolutely insane. No, that's really something to look forward to, and a proper big trade show as well. And I think that one's such that Salute won't take the edge off it. Maybe Salute did take the edge off SELWG a little bit, but I think that's going to be a real big one, because I don't think I can make Salute at all either, really. So definitely something to.
Going back to SELWG, for one big bit that to mention is two large companies had both booked quite large stands and brought sod all product with them.
Yes, I'm
not mentioning no names. Warlord to combat.
Yeah, there wasn't too much product on those two things, was there really? No, that was a bit tricky. But I think there's a challenge for some of the bigger traders in terms of getting stock ready for some of these shows, because if it's uncertain about when the show is going to be, they have to actually invest in, cast up, prepare a lot more stock than normal. And with the uncertainty over it,
in Warlord's case, I was speaking to the guys on the stall. They were the sort of B team bit.
Okay.
Because it was also Spiel in Essen.
Oh, it's Spiel. All right. Okay. So Spiel in Essen. Yeah. So this year, I think is
most of their staff and stock had gone over there.
Fine. So look, this year with the scheduling events, then is just weird. There's going to be a lot of those sort of car crash things because all the events being piled up in the back end of the year, and it'll be much better when it's kind of better spread for next time. So I must admit, I really enjoyed going to SELWG, and I enjoyed it by going when it was quiet, because that kind of, am I in a crowded space? Am I actually on a tube? Was dissipated by going when it was actually quieter. And there were so many people who were just grateful to be out and just catch up with and see. It just made you remember how many people you actually know in this hobby, which was kind of weird to do. So I think that's great. But yeah,
see, Jeff and Chris Beasley
Yes, a couple of Central London players who've not been so well, both getting out and braving it. So that was good as well. So good. So we've got a lot coming up then over the next few months to talk about and report on. And I think also, actually, one other thing that I've done. About last week, I was a guest on the God's Own Scale podcast, which may in fact even be out before this one gets published as well. So there'll be that the inner secrets of how the Madaxeman website works, and a bit about this podcast works will be on with Sean from God's Own Scale, which is a grand podcast and much better planned and produced and put together than this old nonsense.
But are there scripts available?
Possibly, yes, but not from the one that I was on, because I certainly wasn't provided with anything. So so watch out for that one as well. Something to recommend. So we will return at some point in the next few weeks as we start to gear up to I guess as darkness falls and we start to gear up to a more regular schedule of not going out and doing other stuff. So thank you for enduring with us as we stagger back to normality, or as close to normality as we get. And from me, goodbye, and from everybody, goodbye, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Bye. See you, everyone.
Oim Spartacus.
This means war. This means war.
Question, comment les voir? Question, la trou est sans fond? Question, la légende le dit? Question, elle dit aussi.